You've been running for as long as you can remember, chasing dreams, success, love, approval, always feeling as though they linger just beyond your grasp. You were taught that the harder you want something, the harder you must run toward it. But what if the chase itself is the very thing pushing it away? What if every desperate step has only carried it further from you? Think back. How many times have you wanted something so intensely it consumed you, only to watch it slip away again and again? The job, the money, the person, the breakthrough. It always felt just out of reach, didn't it? Yet the moment you surrendered, stopped forcing, and moved on, it arrived, effortlessly. It seemed like coincidence, but it wasn't. You had tapped into an ancient principle that reshapes how reality responds to you. There is a law, older than memory, hidden in plain sight. It was whispered by sages, reflected in nature, and even rediscovered by modern minds who never realized what they had found. The instant you stop chasing and begin embodying, life no longer flees, it leans in. This isn't fantasy, it is alignment, the art of becoming, of shifting identity, presence, and energy. And once you master it, everything changes. Success isn't something you hunt, it's something you attract. The harder you reach, the louder your energy screams lack, and the more the universe echoes that signal right back. Desperation, though often masked as ambition, is vibrationally rooted in fear and insufficiency. When your actions stem from anxiety or scarcity, they push away the very things you desire. Like a magnet flipped the wrong way, the polarity repels. Every effort becomes counterproductive. The ancient teaching behind this is known as the backwards law, an invisible principle suggesting that the more you try to grasp at something, the more it eludes you. Wanting it too much guarantees it slips through your fingers. The backwards law doesn't imply you shouldn't care. It implies that wanting, when driven by the fear of not having, creates the opposite result. Imagine standing before still water, trying to see your reflection. The more you splash, the less you see. Only stillness reveals the image. The same applies to life's goals. The more frantic the effort, the more distortion is created between you and your outcome. Most have been taught to strive harder, hustle endlessly, and grind at the cost of their peace. Yet the ones who thrive seem oddly calm, almost detached, because they intuitively align instead of force. Desperation communicates a specific message to the subconscious. I am not enough. I do not have. The subconscious mind, which governs the majority of behavior and perception, does not filter these messages through logic. It simply responds and recreates conditions to match your internal state. In this sense, the harder you chase something from a place of lack, the more your subconscious reinforces the experience of lack. This is why people can work tirelessly, read every book, follow every strategy, and still sabotage themselves. The internal script hasn't changed, only the external tactics. It's not desire itself that causes the problem, but the frantic energy behind the desire. Wanting is natural, chasing is dysfunctional. One emerges from alignment, the other from fear. Those who embody calm confidence don't run after outcomes. They attract them by existing as though they already have them. This isn't arrogance, it's energetic coherence. It's the butterfly landing on your hand because you stopped swatting at the air. The backwards law becomes most evident when people give up and suddenly find what they were chasing. It's not coincidence, it's alignment finally taking over. To break free from the desperation loop, one must reframe pursuit entirely. Instead of chasing what's missing, begin embodying the version of yourself who already has it. Start thinking, acting, and making decisions from that state. Your energy must shift from lack to possession, from scarcity to sufficiency. The universe doesn't reward the loudest cry or the hardest worker. It responds to the clearest signal. When you no longer chase, you signal certainty. And in response, everything you once ran after begins to turn toward you. The desperation loop reveals an uncomfortable truth. Your external reality is never fooled. It picks up the energy behind your actions, not the action itself. That's where the conversation naturally leads. into energy. You may shift your behavior, wear confidence like a costume, repeat affirmations until your voice fades, but none of it matters if your energy doesn't match your intention. You're not rewarded for what you say or do. You're met with what you radiate. The universe is not listening to your words, it's responding to your frequency. Energy is the most honest language in existence. You felt it. Someone walks into a room without saying a word, and you immediately sense something: tension, calmness, insecurity, magnetism. That isn't intuition alone, it's energetic sensitivity. And just as you can feel it in others, the world feels it in you. If your internal world is vibrating with fear, lack, or urgency, even your best strategy will fall flat. You can't fake energetic alignment. Not to people, not to life. Your frequency always tells the truth, even when your words don't. The backwards law operates here with striking clarity. The more effort you exert to project something you're not truly embodying, the more resistance you generate. Pretending to be confident while feeling inferior only amplifies your sense of inferiority. Acting wealthy while worrying constantly about money reinforces poverty on a subconscious level. It's like dressing up as a master while still feeling like a beggar inside. Reality can't mirror your costume, it mirrors your essence. And when your essence is rooted in lack, all you'll see reflected is distance from the thing you want. Transformation begins not in external performance, but in energetic coherence. When your inner state matches the outcome you claim to want, manifestation becomes automatic. That's not magic, it's mechanics. Speech patterns shift, posture becomes assured, decisions grow deliberate. Not because you're pretending, but because you're aligned. Desperation fades, hope is replaced by knowing. You no longer operate from a place of seeking, but from a place of being, and the world, sensing that certainty, begins to mirror it, offering opportunities, support, and outcomes that match your internal state. You are never separate from what you want. The illusion of separation is sustained by the gap in energy. When you carry the frequency of already having it, the universe delivers accordingly. That's the essence of the backwards law. Stop trying to bridge the gap, and instead become the person who no longer sees a gap. Energy doesn't lie. And the moment you stop pretending and start embodying, everything begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because life mirrors what you finally become. When energy exposes your truth, chasing becomes impossible to disguise. Building upon the understanding that your frequency always tells the truth, it becomes clear why chasing backfires so consistently. Every act of pursuit carries within it a subtle admission: I don't have what I want. And the subconscious takes that message literally. You don't receive what you desire, you receive what you assume to be true. Chasing doesn't just express desire, it amplifies the absence of fulfillment. You tell life, through your thoughts and actions, that you are separate from your goal. And in perfect alignment with the backwards law, that very separation expands. To chase something is to anchor yourself in a state of not having. Even when the desire is pure, if the pursuit is fueled by inner emptiness or urgency, the result will mirror that void. You become the person always trying, always reaching, never arriving. Whether it's wealth, love, or peace, the more you identify with the need to get it, the more you reinforce that you don't have it. The universe, like a mirror, can only reflect back what's already projected. And projection comes not from your words, but from your assumptions, often silent, often buried, but always powerful. This is why surface-level strategies often fail. You can visualize, affirm, and hustle daily, but if your identity remains fixed in scarcity, every effort will be soaked in contradiction. The person who assumes they are already successful makes bold, aligned decisions, not out of fear, but from knowing. The one who still believes success is somewhere far away continues to act from hesitation and doubt. The backwards law isn't about doing nothing. It's about understanding that right action comes from the right identity. Embody first, then act. Become first, then receive. Letting go of the chase doesn't mean abandoning desire. It means detaching from the illusion that desire is fulfilled through effort alone. The true shift occurs when you stop seeking from emptiness and start living from fullness. Assume it is done. Feel as though it's already yours. Let every thought, every decision, every breath come from that place of certainty. When you no longer chase, you stop sending the signal of lack. And when lack no longer defines your state, the universe has no choice but to respond with abundance. Once the illusion of chasing is dismantled, another subtle trap emerges, the fear that letting go will mean giving up. But detachment is not apathy. It is not withdrawal, surrender, or emotional numbness. It is instead the highest expression of inner mastery. Building on the understanding that chasing signals lack, detachment signals certainty. When you release the need to cling, you affirm that what you seek is already within reach. According to the backwards law, letting go doesn't make desires disappear. It invites them in through the back door. True detachment stems from a quiet power, the kind that doesn't demand or grasp, because it already knows. It is the inner posture of someone who understands that outcomes don't create identity. Identity creates outcomes. Those who operate from this awareness don't flinch when things go wrong. They don't crumble under delay, rejection, or silence. They watch, adjust, and continue forward. Their stillness is not resignation, it's alignment. It is the calm presence that, by its very nature, attracts more than force ever could. Ancient Stoic teachings echo this truth. You are never in control of external events, but always in control of your response. Detachment means stepping back from emotional reactivity, not to suppress feeling, but to prevent emotion from becoming your master. The one who can remain still in chaos holds the greatest leverage, because nothing from the outside world holds their peace hostage. Like a mountain unmoved by the weather, you begin to live from a center that cannot be shaken. Under the lens of the backwards law, emotional detachment becomes an act of wisdom. The moment you stop needing the outcome becomes more likely. Not because you're being passive, but because your energy no longer communicates resistance. You stop forcing and start allowing. You stop demanding and start aligning. In this space of calm expectancy, life meets you halfway, and often it gives you more than you even imagined, not because you chased it, but because you stopped signaling that it was missing. Mastery over emotion leads naturally to the realization that external control is secondary to internal design. Once detachment is understood, not as giving up, but as alignment, the next truth becomes unavoidable. Everything you experience stems from your identity. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And until identity shifts, outcomes cannot. The backwards law continues its work here too. Struggling to achieve from a place of misaligned identity only reinforces the gap between who you are and what you seek. Your identity is the silent architect of your life, not the mask you wear in public, but the deep subconscious belief about who you are, what you deserve, and how life treats you. This inner blueprint determines the shape of your reality. If you believe on a core level that success is for others, money is scarce, or love is dangerous, your outer world will bend itself to prove you right. It doesn't matter how loudly you affirm change. If your internal assumptions stay the same, nothing outside can shift. Transformation, then, isn't about layering new habits on top of old wiring. It's about reprogramming that wiring altogether. You must begin not with doing, but with being. Ask yourself, who is the version of me who already has the life I desire? Then live from that identity, not as fantasy, not as wishful thinking, but as an energetic decision. Your posture changes, your voice deepens with calm, your choices align. And when the inner structure shifts, the external world is forced to rearrange itself to match. The backwards law reminds you, striving without identity alignment creates friction, but embodying the identity of your desired self and moving from that place of certainty dissolves resistance. You stop working against yourself. Instead of dragging your old beliefs toward a future they can't sustain, you become someone for whom that future is natural. Identity doesn't follow results, results follow identity. And once the blueprint is rewritten, the house of your life begins to rebuild itself. Once identity shifts into alignment with your desired reality, the effort that once felt necessary begins to look excessive. You realize much of your struggle stemmed not from a lack of discipline, but from a lack of alignment. Acting from a misaligned identity requires force. Acting from truth requires flow. Here, the backwards law re-emerges. The more force you apply, the more resistance you create. Straining against life implies that life is an opponent, when in fact it's a current meant to carry you once you stop swimming upstream. Forcing outcomes is often mistaken for dedication, but it frequently masks fear. A forced relationship, a strained opportunity, a plan that constantly drains. These are signs that you're no longer moving with the flow of your design. When you're aligned, you don't need to shove doors open, they unlock as you arrive. The path of least resistance isn't laziness, it's intelligence. Nature doesn't grind, water doesn't try to break through the rock, it flows around it. Over time, it shapes entire landscapes not through effort, but through consistency and alignment. The invitation is simple. Stop trying to make things happen and start allowing them to happen through you. Listen instead of react. Move when it feels precise, not pressured. You'll find that clarity grows in stillness and the right actions become obvious when you're no longer obsessed with outcomes. When you drop the grip, life stops slipping away. And through the lens of the backwards law, this surrender becomes your greatest strength. Not because you gave up control, but because you finally trusted that you never needed to control it to begin with. The shift from force to flow is more than a mental adjustment. It's a deeper recognition of how intelligence truly operates. After releasing the need to push, a quiet clarity begins to emerge. Decisions feel lighter, movement becomes smoother, and the constant pressure that once governed your choices begins to dissolve. Flow doesn't mean passivity, it means precision. It means acting not out of panic, but out of timing. That rhythm, once discovered, reveals something profound. The most powerful results often come from the least resistance. And once again, the backwards law proves itself. When you stop trying to control everything, life begins organizing itself around you. Flow is often misunderstood as weakness. In truth, it's the highest form of strategic intelligence. While most exhaust themselves climbing ladders propped against the wrong walls, those in alignment are guided by a deeper current. They sense when to pause and when to move, when to speak and when to wait. That awareness cannot be taught. It arises naturally when resistance is dropped. You become less reactive and more responsive, less scattered, more directed. Like a sculptor removing the unnecessary stone, you no longer create through effort, you reveal through alignment. Many remain stuck, not because they lack skill or ambition, but because they ignore where things naturally want to move. They cling to outdated plans, force relationships, or commit to paths that drain their energy, all because of pride or fear of change. But flow requires trust. It asks you to stop fighting uphill battles and instead follow the terrain that supports your movement. Letting go of what doesn't work isn't failure, it's wisdom. Flow invites you to recognize when a door is truly closed so that you don't waste your life pounding on it while another stands open. Seen through the lens of the backwards law, this isn't about escaping responsibility, it's about embodying it differently. The mind, when freed from resistance, becomes clearer, sharper, more intuitive. Actions guided by flow yield more than actions fueled by fear. You work less, yet accomplish more. Opportunities find you not because you chased them, but because you positioned yourself where they naturally arrive. And in that space of harmony, intelligence speaks, not in noise, but in direction. You don't lose power by flowing, you step into a higher version of it. You were never meant to chase, you were meant to become. That ancient law, buried under centuries of noise, now stands clear. Stop running toward life, and let life move toward you. By shifting identity, detaching from outcome, and surrendering to flow, you awaken your magnetic power. No more forcing, no more gripping, no more chasing what is already waiting to find you. Step into stillness, align with ease, and watch everything you've ever wanted start chasing you.